thank you for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm with Queen Bee Creations. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and everything that I use in my videos is all Stampin' Up! Product, which is all available in my online store. I do appreciate those of you who purchase from me. We do have a new catalog out, so all of my customers should have their Halloween or their holiday catalog, because that just came out. Those of you that are out of the area, they were mailed. Those of you who are in town, I have them here, or I've dropped them off to you already. So that's super exciting. And the products we're using today are out of that new catalog. So I saw this super cute idea. I've used the hair gel before to make water, but somebody else used it to make fake blood. So how cute is that? It like moves around in there. Looks really creepy. I'm not a big Halloween person, but I have several family members who are, so I thought this would be cute for them. I used the new set Monster Bash. So that's this one right here. And then it comes with some coordinating dies. I always buy the bundle. So these are the dies because I think I can use these year round. These are so cool. And then I also used the set of rectangle dies. I happen to keep all of the standard shapes, ovals, circles, squares, rectangles. You can just use them on so many different things that it's just logical to have them on hand. So that's what I'm using for today's card. Let me move you down to the work surface and show you how I did it. Okay, so here's my work surface. And I always start out with a card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So that's our card base. And then I used another piece of, this is cherry cobbler, and this is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then I have the designer series paper, which is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then I took the 4th rectangle down in my rectangle dies. It's the 4th one. And I just cut out the center. Now I could have glued the two of them together first, but I wanted to make sure that I got fully to the edges, and I wanted to be able to use these pieces separately, because if they were still glued together, I'd only be able to use one of them, but since they're still together, I can use the two of them on separate cards because they are stitched on the inside here, and then they're stitched on the outside here. So it stitches on both sides. Hi Judith, thanks for joining us. Okay, and then I cut another piece of the red, which is 3 inches by 4 inches, because I wanted to be able to put it in the back, and you'll see why we're doing that in a minute. And if you don't want to cut it, you can use the 3rd rectangle down, and that's kind of what I did to make that the inside piece. Then I needed a small scrap of red. This is approximately, let's see, 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. This was 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And this was 1 by 2. So I went ahead and stamped those ahead of time so you don't have to watch me do that, because the important part is you're going to want to see how I do the blood. So we'll get into that. I'm going to put this together so it can dry. It dries quickly, but you know, let's just put it together just because. So I'm going to put some liquid glue on here because it gives what I call wiggle room. It's going to allow me time to set the two together and then make sure that I've got them lined up evenly and that all of my edges have the right border, and I can see it from both sides, and so that I know is perfect. Now for the blood, I'm using hair gel. So you can just pick this up at the dollar store. I think I picked this up at my regular store because it was on sale, so it was nice and cheap. And then I've got I have a plain old bag, this has got a double zipper to it. I mean, you can use any number kind of Ziploc bags, but you want something that's going to seal because you don't want it to leak. So you just want a little bit of the gel in there. The first card, I think I put too much. And so I'm just going to put a little bit in here. So I've got a little bit of hair gel in my bag, and I'm going to add some inkers. And so I'm just going to put a couple drops in here. Oh goodness, there go the dogs. So that was Real Red, and then this is Cherry Cobbler. I'm going to do probably 3 drops of each. We'll see how that goes. I've done this with water before, or made water this way using our blues. And you can create some really pretty things to go with our mermaid or some of our other water features. But for the blood, we're using red. And so I'm just kind of mixing it together. And I'm using my bone folder, but I'm being very careful to make sure that the bag is flat, because the first time I did this, I drug over some folds in the bag, and it kind of almost tore it. So I am being very gentle as I blend all this together. So I want to make sure my color's in there, and then I want to make sure that all of the air is out, because we do not want any excess air inside the bag. And then I'm going to go ahead and seal it. And then make sure we're kind of in the middle. I love being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator because there are so many ideas that are shared between other demos. I got this from someone else who shared it on one of our demonstrator Facebook pages, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's like genius. I don't know why I never thought of that. I make water all the time. Why didn't I think I could make blood? Probably because I'm not really into Halloween cards, but this was just too cool not to share. So I'm going to take this 3x4 piece of cardstock, and I'm going to put it behind to give it a backdrop. Now, if I was doing water, this would be, you know, Balmy Blue or Pool Party, Bermuda Bay. Any of our blues would be the cardstock in the back. But then I'm going to wrap this around. And I'm going to tape this down again. Oh, we're oozing, so I want to try to ooze back into the middle. I'm using this kind of tape because I thought the snail just is not going to be strong enough, and I didn't really want to use tear and tape for holding the bag down. I wanted something that was good and secure and wide. So since the tear and tape's pretty narrow. And this, because it's a nice wide tape, it's also going to make sure that I'm sealed, I guess. It's if I've got this seriously taped up, then it's not gonna come undone. My Ziplock's not gonna pop open on me and leak this red gel somewhere. So there we have it. There's our little blood. Doesn't that look cool? I thought that was so neat. Okay, and then she placed it in the middle of a frame. I'm using a different frame. I didn't want to copy her card exactly, but I am using her technique for the blood. And then again, I'm going to come in here with some more tape, and I'm going to tape this down to the inside. Just making sure it's good and secure. Then I can take my tear and tape for making it stick to the card. So I'm just going to put a few strips of this down the middle. And then this is kind of thick, and so in order to make it lay flat on my card, I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. Oh good, I'm glad you have a use for it. That's fun. So on the dimensional part, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do 2 tall. I don't know if you've done that before, but all you do is you take your dimensional and you pop it down. And then I'm going to take the sticky part or the cover off, and I'm going to stack another one on top of it. So we'll be 2 dimensionals tall. And that'll give me plenty of room for the blood not to be bumpy on my card. So this set will be available September 4th. That's when our catalog will go live. If you're not working with a demonstrator and you need a catalog, let me know and I can get one out to you before it starts, because it's always better to have one in hand than to look online. Although there is that option. I just love the book because it's kind of an idea book. You know, we even have, as demos, we're given the ingredients to all of the cards that are in there. So if you're wondering what they used to make one of the cards that's in a catalog, just let me know and I can definitely tell you what's in there. If I can't figure it out by looking at it, I have directions I can go look at. So these are all 2 dimensionals high. So I'm going to pull off all the backs. And then peel off the part of the tear and tape. Oops. Just the top part. There we go. It's kind of hard to get it to stick when I'm trying not to make the blood ooze out of its little container, but we'll get this. Okay, so I'm going to put this onto my basic black card base. Hopefully I've got this on there straight. So now we're ready for Dracula. So these are, like I said, this is the stamp that's in the Monster Bash stamp set. And so I'm using this stamp down here. And if you notice, he's got a full black cape and it's in the stamp, which sometimes when I'm trying to stamp a solid black image, I don't get a really good impression. So I made sure that when I did this one, I used my Stamparatus because this allows me to stamp multiple times. And so I was able to come in with my Memento black ink and stamp, and see, it's okay. I'm not thrilled. It's not real solid. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to ink it up again. And then I can stamp in exactly the same spot and make that same image darker. So that's just with 2. I mean, I could keep inking them up and he'd get even darker, but you can see it's with all those fine lines in there and everything, it's exactly in the same spot. So I love my Stamparatus for that reason and many others, but that's a really good one. And then I had a framelit that I was able to place on here and then run it through my die cutting machine, and then I came out with this guy. And then I colored him with my Stampin' blends. I just used a dark gray Stampin' blend to do the frame. I did a little bit of the light Seaside Spray for his face and some dark Highland Heather for the purple in there, just trying to make him look vampire-ish. This one I kind of left his face almost kind of white. I used a light petal pink on his face here, and then the color lifter after that to kind of lighten it up. So you can go either way. And then I took this die right here, and that gave me this. So it's got lots of pretty little squirrelies in it. So I'm just going to mount this on top of there. And again, I'm using the liquid glue because I want to make sure that I can center it right. I'm a little bit fussy on making sure those are centered. And then bring in my card base. And I can attach the sentiment. I stamped the word creepy, and then I had this die right here to cut it out with. And that gave me that pretty frame, but it's stitched on the inside. I don't know if you can see that, but these have stitching, several of them. This one I'm gonna use a little, I've got the dauber over here, and I'm just gonna give it some smoky slate just to make it look kind of dirty, because to me vampires are kind of in a castle that might be dirty. Just an afterthought. So there's the outside of our card and our liquid blood. Isn't that cool? I just loved that idea. This one I did in Cherry Cobbler, and this one I did in Mary Merlot. And then the behind here is real red to make the blood look more red. So then if you want, I always do the inside of my card. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but let's get that on the fly. I'm going to take another piece of Whisper white cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then we'll pick out a saying, have a spooktacular Halloween. Now I'm lining it up on my grid paper and then setting my block on top of it so I can make sure that I'm good and straight. And then I can, this is Smoky Slate ink, just happened to be what I had on my desk. And then let's see what we have in here. We got some little bottles. There we go. So there's the inside of my card. Put that away so I don't stick my elbow in it. I have a tendency to do that. There's the inside of our spooky fake blood vampire card. I've got it here in Cherry Cobbler and in Mary Merlot, and then the backing behind this is real red. It would be good in lots of different colors. That's just the colors I used on these to show a little bit of difference. All of this that I used here today, including these cute little coffins. How cute is this? Can't you just see that with some little Halloween treats in it? Are all out of our holiday catalog. So hopefully you have one of these in your hot little hands. I can give it to you. I'm not supposed to show you the inside on camera. Eeks. I am so flustered. So another thing I want to let you know is I am doing a paper share. There's lots of beautiful new designer series papers that are in this bundle, in this catalog, and I'm doing paper swatches, which is what these are. And I'm also doing a paper share, which means that you would get, this is a 3x6, and in the paper share you would get a 6x6 of every designer series paper in the entire book. So if you wanted a sampling in your hand so you could compare things and see how they're going to work with your project, a paper share might be a good idea for you. I'm taking orders now so that when the catalog becomes live on September 4th, I can place an order and get these shipped out to you. So if you are interested in a paper share, hop on over to my blog at queenbeecreations.net and you will see information there about my paper share. So again, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next Monday at 2:30. Thanks. Bye.